Alright, so we're making it out today to do a little update on something that I finally did on my Triumph Bobber Black. You guys can see, handlebars are sitting a little bit higher. Something I've been wanting to do for a while. This is actually the same spot from when I tried high risers on the bobber. Unfortunately, they didn't work, but I'm going to show you guys in a little window of what does work. Okay, so bad dad joke, but these are the TC Bro window bars. I have thought that these were going to work with all the stock cables. Luckily they do, but I'm going to run you through exactly what I did to get that to work. And then later in this video, I'm going to go do some riding in between and actually get my first thoughts of how this bike rides now. I've only done maybe a whopping like 7 miles with these bars, so don't really have a good first impression quite yet. It is warmer than I thought it was going to be today. I figured these would actually work on this bike because I tried 6-inch risers before with the TC Bro dragger bars, which this is actually the same dragger bar, just welded 3 more pieces on to make a 6-inch rise bar. You can see that it almost lines up perfectly with the wide forks of the Bobber Black. Alright, to get these fitted to my bike, I flipped the risers back around the normal way that they come. With the stock bars, I typically have them facing forwards to stretch it out a little bit. With these, I don't need that. Wanted the bars a little bit further forwards than parallel with the forks. And instead of running the hoses and wires in front, routing them in the back, I knew that it was going to give me extra space. One thing I will probably do in the future is bend this a different way so I can have it running a little bit further down and have a little bit more slack. Not so much pressure on the triple tree, but that will be a future project. Also had to do the clutch cable back behind, which it's actually pretty much the perfect length. It's rubbing the tank a little bit, so may have to put one of those clear stickers on there, but it actually runs pretty much exactly perfect length for 6-inch bars, which was pretty surprising. But as for the wiring of the bike, I had to run it all back. I think it looks pretty nice and symmetrical, minus that. Alright, so it looks pretty nice symmetrical running in right at the neck of the frame. So was able to take the wires out of running through here. The throttle cables and wires for the right side controls are running in the standard way once you take the tank off to reroute the bars, which isn't that bad. Luckily, I had my wife hold my tank. A little pro tip: make sure that your tank is pretty much empty to do this. It makes it much easier. But for the clutch side, the left side, I had to run the wire out of under the tank, about pretty much almost square in the tank. Once you take the tank off, you'll see the plastic casing that the wires run through. The clutch side, I ran out of the middle. There's a little gap in there, which is almost like perfect for this setup. And it made it nice, tidy, so I can run it right out through there. You have space underneath the tank. But like I said, this is all stock cables, hoses, wires. It's amazing that you can actually fit these bars on here. Another little thing that I did to get this to work is right under here. You may be able to see the paint coming off a little bit, but I took a Dremel and filed this over all the way to where, if you want to put a mirror on here, it would go, just so this connector can get over more, because typically it sticks out. And I replaced this bolt with the crush washers, mainly because the old bolt, I just put some tape on to cut that to make sure no piece of shaving of metal got into the reservoir. But also for how it sits now, I kind of feel like the cluster sits a little bit too far out, so I will be modifying this bracket to get it to sit down lower, as well as I have a couple little tricks up my sleeve, I think, to get everything all nice and dialed in and tucked away, which after I try it, I will obviously make a video and let you guys know if that works out. But for now, let's jump back on the bike, get some more miles in, and I will stop and give you guys my first thoughts on these bars. Now with having about an hour of ride time on these new window bars, I have to say I actually really dig them. For being 6'1", with a little bit longer of a torso, I've done some modifying. Not necessarily that you needed it, but I like being stretched out. So to pair these handlebars with a seat bracket that's modified back as well as modified lower, keeping the mid controls, I am really enjoying this setup. A little bit closer is nice. You kind of feel like if something's going to tag your bars, it's not going to anymore. I personally have broad shoulders, but I do still like the little bit narrow aspect of these. One thing I forgot to say is I have upgraded to the stiffer bushings in there. In the future, may get solid ones made, but that is just a personal preference. I'm really enjoying also the fact that you can just put these on with stock cables and everything. You have to do a little bit of modifying and kind of like figuring everything out, but they are quite comfortable. They are not quite like shoulder level, still a little bit down a little bit, but one thing I do have to say is for my height, where my helmet is sitting upright, basically the top bar is dead set through the center of the Speedo, so I can't necessarily see 10 to 60 miles an hour, which obviously is majority of your riding, which is gonna make me do it a little bit sooner, but why I want to modify the Speedo down lower and tucked in. It's just a little bonus on now having these bars and wanting to do it even sooner. Like I said, this is the same dragger bar welded on here that I've already tried before. A huge thing I had issues with getting aftermarket bars is this one is just 8 1/8. This one is 8 3/8, which is longer than Harley ones. So this clamp would be on the bend of most tracker bars, which would pinch the throttle and not let it fully release. The reason why I like these bars so much and knew that they would most likely work with a height is because right here is 9.5 inches. You have over an inch to play with getting your throttles how you want. You could always cut these and even put them closer. But like I said, wide shoulders, 28 I already feel like is perfect. I do not run the mirrors on the side. I still run the little mirror underneath, which almost works better now. But you can move your controls in a little bit and still run factory mirrors or just get the adapter bar ends. So with the ride, I try to do local back roads so I really knew how the bike handled, as well as some highway to get the wind to the chest to see how it does. On the highway, so much nicer. Hands down, I like it a lot better because I personally don't want to put a windshield or anything on here. As well as with that bar, it does help block out the wind some. On back roads, having your bars a little bit more narrow and a little bit up higher, you kind of have to drive with your hips a little bit more. Hopefully everyone, that makes sense, but when you get out there, you will know what I mean. I do have to say, I kind of feel like my bike has gone from the OEM Plus aspect to a pretty modified bike now. I feel like it has finally crossed that line with the bars. Love this bike. Gonna jump back on and enjoy it for the rest of the day. But I want to let you guys know my first thoughts on the new TC Bro window bars. If you guys have liked today's video, give me a thumbs up and subscribe. If you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, leave them down below, and I will see you guys in the next one. Give me a thumbs up and subscribe. Why is this B? Okay.